How about that intro?
Oh,
Nice.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the inaugural first episode of the Land Sports Show. I am owner of Bully Land Media, Kevin Sleds, and I'm here with my expert panel tonight. As many of you may know, we announced on social medias we were combining our Brown and Orange Weekly, Guardians of the CLE, and All Things Cavalier podcast into one big show, which we're going to talk about those three and pretty much everything Cleveland sports and anything related, sports related in Northeast Ohio. So to kick it off, we've got our expert panel joining us tonight. First of all, the former co-host of the Guardians of the CLE podcast, as well as Brown and Orange Weekly, Mr. James Elfritz. James, welcome. Thanks for being part of the first show.
Kevin, this is going to be fun. I know, Clarence, you've talked about this a little more in the background, trying to bring all the heads together to make one show because really we're all passionate about all the teams in downtown Cleveland. And it's going to be fun to talk with you guys and cover the bases each week with all of our teams. So looking forward to speaking with everybody here and hope we get more and more people tuning in each week and interested in participating in our chat here on StreamYard.
And second of all, we got our other co-host from Brown and Orange Weekly, Mr. Clarence Wilson. Clarence, how you doing tonight?
I'm all right, man. I'm happy it started raining because it's been hot as hell out today. I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Happy to I'm happy to be here. Happy to get this thing rolling. We're gonna talk Cleveland sports with you and having fun.
And last but not least, pinch hitting, our utility guy, former co-host of Guardians of the CLE podcast, Mr. Paul Paulie Huffaker. How you doing, Paul?
Who the hell woke me from my nap? Where am I? Why am I here? Oh, hi guys. It's good to see you.
And
Got your
also,
City Connect hat.
Yeah, this thing is the only good thing about that jersey. I like this a lot.
Yeah.
The rest of it can go.
A big shout out to Derek Dimmitt, who's in the background producing for us tonight. So thank you, Derek. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Derek.
Oh, I was hoping for the disembodied voice so much, and he's gone.
All right, well, we lost Clarence there for a second, but the show must go on. All right,
disembodied
guys,
voice, say hi.
Yeah, it is possible that Clarence is in and out just like a practice squad player for the Browns this year, but stay with us.
All right, we're going to kick it off with some Cavs talk. A lot going on there since the regular season ended, of course. Fired head coach J.B. Bickerstaff. Currently interviewing candidates to replace him. We'll go over a couple of the names and kind of get your guys' opinions and who you like, dislike, and maybe somebody on the list that not on the list that you like. So first of all, you got Kenny Atkinson. He's the former Brooklyn Nets coach. Coached there when Kevin Durant was there. Currently the top assistant with the Golden State Warriors. He seems to be the leading candidate, according to a lot of media members. Another guy who's been mentioned as a lead candidate, James Borrego. He had some time as the Charlotte Hornets coach. Kind of had a raw deal there, bad roster. We all know as great as Michael Jordan was as a player, he was an awful owner, and it definitely showed in his time
for sure.
Ownership. One interesting name to keep an eye on, and if this guy doesn't get the head coach, could be in for the lead assistant, and that's Johnny Bryant, who's the current New York Knicks top assistant. He worked closely with Donovan Mitchell, kind of his personal coach in Utah for 6 years. So I'm sure there's a preference there from Donovan's standpoint. So even if he doesn't get the head coaching job, I could see him possibly ending up on the staff. Chris Quinn, the top assistant for the Miami Heat, actually played in 7 games for the Cavs from 2012 to 2013 season. He's very highly regarded as an up-and-coming coach. David Adelman, top assistant coach of the Denver Nuggets, of course, won NBA championship last year. He's the son of Rick Adelman, who was a pretty good coach back in the 90s and early 2000s. Micah Nori from the Timberwolves, the top assistant there. Personality-wise, he kind of at the top of the list. And then, there's a few more. They're supposed to interview approximately 10 candidates all in all when it's all said and done. and we'll see where it goes. James, we'll start it off with you. What's your opinion on the coaching search, and who do you like?
You were talking about Kenny Atkinson, and with him being with the Warriors, something I was thinking about at the end of the year is that we have an all-star backcourt, and you're trying to get them to play together, and you could call them the Stephen Clay light version of a backcourt where they're all stars, but they're not to their level. But the one thing I was thinking about is that what is Kenny going to bring different than Luke Walton already did, because Luke Walton was with the Golden State Warriors during some of their championship teams. He was taking over for Steve Kerr. What was going on in Golden State already presented to this team based on how the Warriors were conducting business or their offense or whatever. So that's something I am curious on. But like I said, you could look at a bench and look down there and you can see that, yes, everybody's about team and you want to have a team philosophy. But if you break them all down individually, like we are now with these guys, each guy's going to have a little bit of a different touch, different feel, different mindset to how they, if they're the top guy, would want to be running the squad. So, you mentioned Adelman. I remember his dad with the Portland Trailblazers. Really good coach, had a lot of talent there. My question is that we lose JB, and I shouldn't say we lose JB. We fired JB, but do you want another coach that is the son of a coach? Because I thought JB, in fairness to him, he did offer growth since he's been with us. But, who's going to be able to come in and really make a difference with the voice, but also, are we going to keep this roster together? I know that's a different topic. So, I don't know if the coach is going to, I guess like you're saying, if it's going to be Bryant, I think that's going to tell you what Mitchell's going to do. So, I don't know. I don't have a really great gut feeling on any of these guys right now.
How about you, Clarence? Anybody you liking on this list, or do you have somebody else in mind that maybe hasn't been mentioned?
There's one guy I actually like, Atkinson. He coached that pretty bad Nets team and got them to play decently well, to the point that I'm pretty sure that didn't we have their pick and we expected that to be a higher pick that ended up being like 8th or something like that, because they definitely outplayed basically their roster, and instead of ending up with so in the top 3 of the draft, we ended up with, I think, 8, and we ended up picking Sexton. So I would be okay with Atkinson just because it seems like he could get the most out of the roster, like he did with that net squad. I'm kind of interested in Borrego a little bit, but I feel like anybody who's coached Charlotte, like, you don't know how good they are because they haven't had talent since Grandmama and Alonzo Mourning, pretty much. So it's anybody coming from Charlotte, I think it's a crapshoot because they've just been bereft of talent for so long. Somebody who I have not really seen mentioned since the beginning that I would be interested in would be Sam Cassell. I don't know. Something about old Sammy. I know he's with Boston right now.
I like that.
I wouldn't mind. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him come in, former player, former point guard. Obviously, he can relate to the players, and obviously being with Boston, we're going to take a little bit from them as well. So those are kind of the 3 names that I guess I would look at. Again, Borrego, it's hard, but I would be interested in Atkinson and Sammy Cassell.
Yeah, I heard Cassell mentioned initially. For JB was heard his name. I'm sure if he they're going to get.
I'm sorry, was that something directed towards me, Kevin? You were a little bit off there.
Yeah, you chopped up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Kevin, your audio went off a little bit.
Last time I heard Grandma Ma, I was watching a Family Matters rerun on TBS about 3 weeks ago. So I'm a little bit off now. What the hell? No, I think it all comes down to Donovan Mitchell. And if you're going to keep Donovan Mitchell, it's got to be Johnny Bryant. If he's got such a deep connection with Donovan Mitchell, that gives you a leg up on extending him and making sure that you keep the biggest part of this team intact. Because without Donovan Mitchell, I fear what this team is going to look like in 24-25.
And that kind of leads us into our next subject, which is the offseason rumors as far as the roster goes. Kobe Altman, at his end of the season press conference, said he's seen no reason to break up the core four. I personally think that's a smokescreen. I mean, if you're going to trade one of those guys, you're not going to come out and say it, obviously. Brian Windhurst continually insists that Mitchell and Garland will not be on the same team together, that if Mitchell leaves, Garland will be kept. If Mitchell resigns, Garland will be traded. So I know he has a lot of sources. He's one to watch for those rumors, so I tend to believe him.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of smoke with Darius Garland to the Pelicans for Brandon Ingram. Gives you a wing that you sought. There were rumors that Altman tried to get Ingram last season. I know they've been interested in him for a couple years. There's also several teams interested in Jared Allen. And Cavs have been linked to some other guys, along with Ingram, Devin Vassell, who the Spurs just came out and said is pretty much untouchable, along with Wemby. Keldon Johnson, also from the Spurs, Paul George from the Clippers, and Mikal Bridges from Brooklyn, who I think they'd rather build around than get rid of. So I don't see that happening. That's kind of a dream scenario. But what are your guys' thoughts on the rumors, and can they continue to play with two small guards and two bigs who can't shoot? And is Mobley your future center? James, you want to start it off?
I think, obviously we're starting in the backcourt. From the eye test from Garland during the playoffs, to me, all I kept thinking was he's too small. And the way he would go to the basket, sometimes he reminded me of Coro, where he was kind of going at it 100 miles an hour, and then the ball just goes all over the place, unfortunately. I like Darius Garland. I can understand having some issues driving to the basket, especially in the playoffs, since his face has been rearranged. How many times? The poor guy has got beat to hell. But still, size-wise, I look back at, Dame Lillard and CJ in Portland, and sure, that was great for some regular season stats and some regular season wins, but where did that go in the playoffs? If it wasn't Dame having a shot, I think it was to beat Houston that year in I think it was the first round of the playoffs, that team just didn't have enough. And I just don't think that backcourt is going to last, and Mitchell's the guy you're going to build around, especially if he's going to sign. I agree with you on the smoke screen. I really believe in Windy, man. I trust Windy with whatever he says and whatever he's connected to, that this backcourt will not see each other next year.
All right, Clarence, I've seen you kind of shaking your head when I mentioned Brandon Ingram. What are your thoughts? Did we lose him?
Clarence, Brandon Ingram.
All right, Paul.
His audio might be delayed.
Yeah, Paul. What are your thoughts?
And he's gone. I think all
He's
of
in
that
hyperspace.
I think all of that sounded like we were trying to track somebody down at Target.
When he comes back in, we should all be like talk Star Wars or something and be like, what the hell?
I don't know that I want to see the whole four go, but I do think, look, I've been a big fan of Jared Allen, and he looked really just out of place that entire playoff. He just didn't look like the guy that could be that big that we need. And that's disappointing because I really like Jared Allen. I like a big man in the paint that's not afraid to get in there and scrap. I mean, one of my favorite players of all time is Shaquille O'Neal. Can't shoot a basket to save himself, but if you need him to get a rebound, he's the guy you want out there. And if you want somebody to get physical, he's the guy you want out there. That said, I think the most likely of the four to go is probably going to be Jared Allen.
Clarence, you back now?
I'm here.
All right. We went to you, but you were froze there. So I seen you were kind of shaking your head when I mentioned Brandon Ingram. So what are your thoughts on the offseason and player movement?
I've been screaming for the Cavs. Let's just be honest. The Cavs haven't had a legit three-man outside of LeBron James I'm not sure in my lifetime. I feel like Nance was probably more of a 4. Harper was more of a 2, and then he basically moved to a 1 with the Lakers. So, like, I can't think of a 3-man that the Cavs have had. I mean, besides, my guy like Alonzo G or somebody like that. But but they haven't had a 3-man.
No.
You like that? You like that? I bring out old
No.
Alonzo.
His
they
name
haven't
popped
had
in my
legit-
head.
I was thinking
haven't had a
Chris
three-man.
Mills and Mike Sanders.
Mike
Nah,
Sanders.
nah.
He was
And
with the
Danny
Knicks.
Ferry.
No, don't get me started. But they haven't had a legit 3-man and since LeBron basically. And I feel like with Ingram, he fills some of the boxes. He's tall. He can shoot. He's not a volume scorer or anything like that. But is he just a taller Darius Garland? So are we getting somebody who, can't play defense, doesn't really finish at the rim? I don't know if he is the answer. We do need the size. We do need the size for sure. I'm just not sure if Ingram's the guy. I do feel like, as James said, Garland proved in the playoffs, like he can't finish at the basket, man. Like it was just sickening watching him get all the way in there and throw up some trash that wasn't even close to the rim or turn the ball over. So I feel like, in my eyes, I think Garland and probably Allen are probably gone, quite honestly. If they can find the right deals to retool, I think those are going to be the 2 players that are gone. I'd like to keep Allen. Don't get me wrong. I like him. I like him a lot, but
Because they need a point guard to get Mobley more touches. You can see what he can do. I know he wasn't playing against great competition, even with Boston, some of the guys he was going against. But you can see they just need to get him more touches, more shot attempts. I can't tell you how many times I'd look at a box score all during regular season. I'm like, Evan Mobley shot 7 times. What is that?
Yep.
How's that guy going to develop? And he needs more shots. And I don't mean threes.
Well, I kind of thought just from the beginning of the whole, like, we got a star. We got Mitchell. When you have a chance to do that, you have to do it. You absolutely have to do it. But I thought as soon as he came in, I was like, is this going to stunt the growth of Mobley and DG? And to a point, it definitely affected, the touches that Mobley got. So they've got to figure out some way to incorporate him in the offense more. I agree 100%, James.
The one thing I wanted to add on that, Kevin, if you don't mind, is that if you look at Boston being in the finals starting up tomorrow night, but basically both Tatum and Brown are threes that can handle the ball. So our ball handlers that can create their own shot are small. Theirs are huge compared to our backcourt. And yes, Donovan, with that knee concerns me, but he's still our best chip. As far as if you're looking at trying to rebuild a big 3, and none of them, our championship big 3 of LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin, Mitchell could be a 2, but he's not LeBron, which I don't think I don't know that we're going to get that one. That one could be, look at the Bulls. They're still trying to find somebody to replace Jordan. And it may never come again in our lifetime. So to me, you got to build the best roster you possibly can of probably solid 2s. And Mobley can get there with that development. I think Jarrett's maxed out what he can do, and he's had a great season. I don't like what happened to him in the playoffs, but I think Garland's kind of there too. If you remember, both those guys, both Garland and Allen, made the All-Star game in Cleveland because of injuries. And I was happy to see him there as a basketball fan, as a Cleveland fan. But I think we know that ultimately they haven't seen an All-Star roster and been on an All-Star roster since then. So I just don't see how they can be next level in the playoffs.
Well, and the way the NBA now,
what you said real quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just to piggyback off what James said really quickly, he just mentioned the 2 things, Tatum and Brown. Who the hell the Cavs got to guard them? And I'll leave it at that.
Well, I mean, that's the way the NBA now. The super team, the 3 big 3s are out the window. You look at the 2 teams in the finals. You got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown with Boston. Dallas, you got Luka and Kyrie.
Yeah.
So that's along my thinking as well. You move on from Garland, you move on from Allen, and you bring in pieces that fit better to build around Mobley and Mitchell to make them more successful.
Eminem.
Because you look at the streak they went on when they went 18-2. They had Mitchell playing the point, and they had one big, which was Allen at the time. And look how well they played. And I can't remember what the exact stat was, but offensive efficiency was much higher with Mitchell and Mobley on the floor together than it was with the core four on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So you can look at it in a lot of numbers that back that up as well. So it's going to be an interesting offseason, exciting and interesting. And we have the 20th pick, which who knows what we'll get there, but we'll talk about that as we get closer to the draft.
We got
Mess around,
20?
draft Bronny.
Oh, man.
Mess around and draft Bronny or something.
Who the hell knows at this point?
God, let's not put that into the ether.
All right, so moving on to the Cleveland Browns. I've got some OTAs have been going on, got some news and notes of the week. Deshaun Watson has looked good allegedly in OTAs, and we haven't seen much of his throwing on video. It's been limited, but Stefanski and Dorsey both said that he looks like himself. So I don't know if that's last year himself or Houston Texans himself. So remains to be seen there.
Can we get Houston Texans, Deshaun? Because he's actually good.
I'm hoping. That's what everybody's hoping for. That would be ideal.
Let's be honest here. Deshaun Watson's not playing full seasons anymore. He got the bag. He's not playing a full season ever again. Why would he?
I actually wouldn't mind. I'd love to see Jameis Winston start at least one game this year just for the post-game press conference.
5 interceptions!
Oh, yeah.
5 interceptions!
But he got 6 touchdowns.
I'm still waiting for him to go on a boat on Lake Erie and interview some walleye.
Hell yeah.
So the big man, DeJuan Jones, out of OSU, is back, looking good. He's been taking part in 11-on-11s and has actually been lining up with the ones at right tackle. So, Jack Conklin's coming back, but you saw all the injuries last year with on the offensive line. You're going to need both of those guys more than likely. 6th-round pick. Linebacker Nathaniel Watson has been impressive of all the young guys so far. And then the big news, Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry getting contract extensions. This was the highest winning percentage for the team over a 4-year stretch since the 86-89 stretch. And Stefanski is the longest tenured coach now since Sam Rutigliano, whose tenure ended in 1984. So we'll start with the two Browns guys. Clarence, we'll kick it off with you. What are your thoughts so far on the offseason and what you've heard so far out of OTAs?
I feel like I'm as I age, I am turning into that curmudgeon Browns fan. Like, everybody comes in the best shape of their life in OTAs. The guy looks awesome. Oh, show me. Watson, this is make or break year for him. Like, he's got to come out and play well. I've seen some scenarios where they can, get rid of him after the season if he doesn't, but they're all seem difficult. We have to eat a lot of money and, whatever else. For me, this is a make or break year for him. He's got to come out and be the guy that we thought he was when they made the deal to acquire him. As far as OTAs and stuff like that, again, like, everybody's looking great, I'm sure. But get on the field. Like, I'm all the preseason stuff, all that, it's great. I just need to see it in practice on the field. I can't read another story about how this guy looks great, that guy looks great. It's the same thing every single year. But then, as we said, most of the time, most of these years end in, 5-11 records back when we were playing 16 games. Last year, we were able to get lucky and find Joe Flacco on the couch. This year, that's not going to happen. So if Watson doesn't play well, I do have faith in Jameis for some reason. I don't know why. He might throw you 4 in a pick, just like you said, but he's going to throw you 6 touchdowns, or at least the same amount of touchdowns. So, if the defense can just play decently, we got a shot. But as far as the preseason news, I just want to see it on the field.
James, how about you? What do you feel? How do you feel about the extensions for Stefanski and Barry?
You know, what you said about 86 through 89, I saw that on Fox 8 Sports tonight, and that really kind of stopped me because we know that era was just unbelievable, you know, with Bernie and the defense and Marty and, you know, later Bud Carson, you know, was coaching the team. But that was the prime years. That's probably one of the reasons why we sit here today as passionate as we are and as hopeful as we are, because we lived through that era. And it was, Brownstown was so incredible then and there's so many young people that, even though that we've made the playoffs, we still haven't hosted that home playoff game. And until we do, you still don't know what downtown Cleveland is like on a playoff home game. And that is what excites me towards this year. And that's the goal this year, is to get to make sure that we can get some kind of home field for a playoff game. But I actually thought they drafted 6th round Nathaniel Watson just so they'd have another Watson on the team. So if somebody's asking about Watson, they could go, which one? Which one are you talking about? So, and I bet Nathaniel's hoping that the accounting messes up and actually sends Deshaun's paycheck to him, and then Deshaun gets the rookie contract, because if Deshaun doesn't play up to where he needs to, I need to see that happening, because, but like you said, Clarence, it's make or break year. Kevin and Andrew just got the extensions. Make or break year for Deshaun. I think he knows it. There's no secret behind it. And yeah, I mean, when we talked about Jameis Winston being signed, for those of you who don't know, I love Florida State football. I went to see Jameis play in Pittsburgh when he was a freshman against the Pitt Panthers, and won in a national title. So I've always liked his moxie, his leadership. He's a little goofy sometimes, but man, I kind of like that. Do I like that on my quarterback when it's Sundays and he's thrown 3 picks by the third quarter? No, but he will definitely not, if he gets on the field this year, he will definitely entertain us one way or the other.
Can I ask a question here?
Yes, please.
You're up, Paul.
You guys are the Browns experts here, so I want to ask you guys a question, because you're both big on Jameis Winston, and I'm just wondering, do either one of you play fantasy football?
I gave it up for Lent.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So
I'm done with
my
it.
leagues.
you've at
I
least
haven't
seen
played the
how
last
many
2 years.
interceptions this man has thrown.
Oh, I
and
know.
how many times he's cost teams wins. And
He's
you're
a
telling me
gunslinger.
he's the guy you want as the backup to a guy who hasn't played a full season since what, 2020? 2019? I can't even keep track of how long it's been since Deshaun Watson played a full freaking season. This is nuts. What are we talking about
That's
here?
because
we
it's
have
it's
2 bad quarterbacks.
it's June.
Holy
That's why.
hell!
No,
I'd rather have Joe Flacco again.
What Flacco did. But
He
look
was
at what
better.
Flacco did. Flacco's numbers were going to be about the same. How many he threw? A pick or 2 per game, basically, is what it ended up being. So,
But
I mean,
but you know what the difference is between Flacco and Winston? Flacco looks at the wall and goes, "Man, that trophy looks pretty damn shiny." You know what Deshaun Watson looks at? He looks at a game
What?
ball where he threw 10 interceptions in one damn game.
Hey,
Why
James
do
looks
you-
at that
why do you
national
want
championship
that?
trophy. You just got to go down to Tallahassee to look at
I'll
it.
tell you right.
Why do you want that?
I'll tell you right now. Hey, first off, let's just be real. Flacco got carried by that defense, and I'll never forget that season. He threw so many balls in the air that the wide receiver just got lucky with and came down, got paid, was doo-doo from there on out. Jameis, I mean, honestly, who else were we going to get? Again, if you look at the interception ratio compared to what Flacco did last year, compared to what Jameis normally does, I mean, they seem almost similar, honestly.
That's even worse.
I'm okay
Maybe
with
from a stat wise, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but who else were you going to get? Like who else? What other backup quarterback did we have that was out there that we'd be able to yank?
Well, I just want to point out, you guys
We
are
got
the Browns
Huntley,
guys
too.
that are supposed to make me feel good about Browns season to get me hyped for it, and you just sold me literally snake oil here with Deshaun Watson and Jameis Winston, and I don't know which one of these is worse. I just know that I'm not going to cure my disease at all here.
Yeah, but if you go back, Paul, and you look at, if I told you the story of last season and all those quarterbacks, that would blow your mind too. Now to actually, and Clarence, you and I talked about
Yeah.
this. To do that 2 years in a row is just probably not gonna happen with the schedule that we have
No.
too. So yeah, I said Jameis will entertain us, but he will definitely piss us off too with the interceptions.
We do have Tyler Huntley and DTR still too.
Entertain us by slinging it.
Oh,
To a
like,
wide
look at
open
Jameis'
defender
numbers.
who's going to take it to the house for 6.
Maybe.
He's,
How's
like I
that
said, he's going to throw
What
4.
part of that is entertaining?
He'll throw 4 picks,
You just-
but he'll throw 5 touchdowns. And for 300 yards, and we'll let the chips fall where they may. If the defense plays well, okay. But I don't want to see DTR again unless he's made some serious improvement. He really had 0 touch on the ball. He was firing rockets pretty much every time he threw it. Huntley, I mean, he's decent, but I guess the new offense for the second year in a row because last year they said they redid the offense and Deshaun had input and Deshaun had about one good half of all the games that he played that he looked good, and then we had Flacco come off the couch, play well. Now they're revamping the offense again. From everything that I'm hearing, it's going to be pass happy. So, and then we haven't even gotten to when are we going to see Nick Chubb? I need to see what this new offense is supposed to look like, because this is the second year in a row they revamped it, and we haven't seen Deshaun Watson thrive in. So maybe this year, I don't know.
It's going to be interesting to see when we see Chubb. I know a lot of people say mid-season. Some people are saying beginning of the season, but I did like the Deontay Foreman signing. I think he can step in and fill the shoes for a bit while Chubb recovers, and we lost Clarence.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, Paul.
That's what I do.
Yeah, Paul's scared.
Paul, all I want you to do is make sure that you get points. I want to make sure you get points per interception in your fantasy football league, and you pick up Jameis and win the league.
I'll win in week 1. I'll have like 1 million points, and I'll just sit there and go, I'm dispersing these evenly across the rest of the weeks. Suck it, everybody. I just won the damn thing.
All right.
Going back to one thing that you mentioned earlier, though, you talked about Coach Sam, and I think that's important, is that's how Clevelanders know him. We know him as Coach Sam. So to tie Stefanski to Coach Sam in any way, shape, or form, you got to be doing something right. It's nice to have stability at the top. And God help me, we've gone through so many bad seasons with this Cleveland Browns team since 1999. Like, it's nice to be able to not be the laughing stock of the league anymore. Like, they want us in certain primetime situations. And I was just thinking about, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I read a stat that the 2 most recent teams not named the Cleveland Browns that are not in the division anymore that have won a championship in the AFC North are the Jaguars and the Oilers have won AFC North championships before the Cleveland Browns have. So that's, I feel like that's kind of a dichotomy of what Cleveland Browns football is that we're so bad that teams that are no longer in our division have more championships in our division than we do. We got to get to the point where we can be a consistent contender every single season. And I know that's hard. I get it. It's 17 weeks of hell. But if you do that and you put that money into the team and you put that investment into this organization, man, like James was saying, you don't know what Cleveland will look like with a dangerously good Cleveland Browns team. Because I've been in downtown Cleveland after 1 win against the Jets that snapped an 0-for streak that we don't talk about anymore. It felt like a party trying to get to the RTA. It was nuts. You couldn't move because there were 100,000 plus people in your way. Can you imagine what that would feel like if that was the division championship or the game that gets you to the Super Bowl? It would be the most energy you've ever felt in your life. and I want to experience that before I die.
And the
before
alcohol.
my nephew
Don't forget,
dies.
there'll be a lot of alcohol.
There's always
So
going to be a lot
there'll
of
be a lot of
alcohol. It's
things you
Cleveland.
don't feel too.
Well, we
But
all
I
saw what it was like with the NBA after the NBA championship downtown with the Cavs and the parade, and for the Browns, I think you could probably triple that at least.
Easily.
They'd be hanging from buildings 3 stories,
And-
10 stories up.
Well, they were hanging from buildings during the Cavs parade, and the night I was working downtown that night when they won the championship, and that was one of the most insane scenes I've ever been around. You can go ahead and triple that for the Browns, and I'll just be frank, shit will burn that night. It is 100%. Shit will burn downtown if the Browns ever win the championship.
I'm just more concerned that parade would be happening in February, where it's going to potentially snow. So you've got ice that you're trying to hang off of on those 3 or 4 story buildings. So it's going to be a lot less safe. But what about this new stadium? Where are you guys stand on this? Because the city of Cleveland is trying to dig in with the Art Modell rule, and I don't think that's going to work at all.
You know what? I'm not going to tell a billionaire to do with their money. You know what? He did his thing to get his money. But how much did he just invest in Milwaukee 2 years ago? Like some stupid amount of money. You can build a new stadium, just don't ask me to pay for it. That's it. You can build a new
Bingo.
stadium, just don't ask me to pay for it.
I feel like if taxpayer dollars are going to it, I get a discount on the ticket at the very least. Because I paid
Good
you.
luck.
I paid you to build that stadium. So why am I paying you for the right to go inside of the building that I partially paid for? That
I've been to
doesn't
every
make
home
any
opener
sense.
I've been to every home opener since '99. I want all my damn money back, pretty much, and it's not going to happen. So,
Right. No,
To
I
be
mean,
fair,
I
that's
definitely want a
That's your own
dome.
damn fault. So
Yeah, I'm more for the dome because of what it can bring financially for WrestleManias and Final Fours and other events all year round. How many of those can we get? I don't know. I guess it would be good to look at maybe what Ford Field does and what's the place in Indianapolis? Lucas Oil. You know, I'd like to kind of see what they're doing in their off seasons and how they're filling that place up to, make some more money. So do I want it downtown? Sure. But, downtown Cleveland's got enough problems than to need to build another stadium down there. Cleveland police could use some help down there. You've seen some crazy shit on the news of people driving around and down wrong ways, right in Playhouse Square, and they lit a circle on fire. And they were driving. I mean, there's so much stuff downtown Cleveland. And I get it. There's so much tradition from the Muni lot to all the different places, the businesses, the bars, the restaurants. Those are the things that you got to think about as much as we want, something really nice in Brook Park, which I'd like. If they could have built the dome just south of Progressive Field there, where I had heard they were talking one time, that would be kind of nice, because you're still mildly close to the city. But I'm like I said, I'm pro dome. I don't give a damn about the weather. What kind of home field advantage has the weather given us in the last 20 some years? Nothing. So
cause me to drink more to stay warm. That's about it.
Well, I'm tired of hearing people go, well, that's
Which
not
makes
AFC
them
North
more money.
football. What is AFC North football? Is AFC North football that we freeze our asses off in January and late December? You know what's happening right now in Kansas City? There are amputations happening to fans that were in the stands at the coldest game in NFL history because they couldn't stand the temperatures because nobody should have been there. This is what I'm trying to explain to people when they go, "Oh, I'm anti-dome." Okay, so you just want to die at a Browns game? Because that sounds pathetic as it is already, because we're talking about a team that has just sucked for 20, 30 years that you're giving your life to, but you think they're going to care that you died? They aren't. You're just another spoke on the wheel. Move on. This dome, just to give you a small taste of what this dome could mean, Monster Jam annually runs Ford Field, and it is considered one of their crown jewel events. People come from all over the country to see this one event. Well, sometimes it's two, depending on how they've got the schedule set up. It is one of the destination events for Monster Jam. And I know Monster Jam isn't a big deal, except it is. It generates enough money that it is on the same level as the PGA. Anybody here going to argue that the PGA is not a legitimate business?
Yeah. Paul, you could say that. Think about it. The Lions
Yeah, that's just
sucked in
one
a
event.
dome. The Lions sucked for how long in a dome, and we sucked out for so long outside. So it really doesn't matter. It's the team on the field.
I just want to make money off of the dome. Because
Oh,
we're
I
not
know.
making money off
Yeah,
of
I
Cleveland
agree.
Brown Stadium. That thing's a dump. Let's be
It would be-
completely honest here. That stadium is a dump.
You know what? I look at it like this, and this kind
I
of
can't
goes
get all the
along
way
with-
across it.
Well, yeah, that sucks. Trust me, I've had
That's
to walk my ass
stupid.
around there. I've had to walk my ass around there unless some nice person was going to let me cut through club level. That's never good. I just look at it like, I'm okay with the new stadium. I'm okay with the new dome. That'd be great. Like you said, we can host more events. It'd be good for the city. Where they put it at, of course, kind of like what James was saying, I would love for it to be downtown. As somebody who worked downtown and was in the bar and restaurant industry downtown, those 8 Sundays a year, that was good for the businesses down there. If that goes away, basically, I mean, you have basketball coming in, but a lot of those places you have basketball that kind of plays at the same time because it starts in October. But the Browns that's Cleveland's lifeblood. Like that is a team everybody loves, no matter what. Everybody says, "Oh, I'm not going to watch the Browns." They have their asses on that couch every Sunday watching for a little while, no matter what. No matter what, they might turn it off at some point, but they're gonna tune in. So if they want to build it, fine, I'm good with it. But again, as a Cuyahoga County resident, I'm not trying to pay for that shit. I'm just not. When he spent $5 billion or whatever the hell it was on Milwaukee, I was like, oh, that's good. And then he's gonna come ask me for money to build that stadium after all the money I've shelled out over the last 20 plus years. Nah, man, I'm not paying for it. Sorry.
I'm fine with them moving to Brook Park because part of the reason is I don't live in Cuyahoga County, so I don't have to pay for it. the current stadium location and the parking is just a total ass ache. I'm trying to get in and out of there. I think something had to be done, and it's
Ass ache. You're talking about sitting in those Cleveland Brown Stadium chairs?
Oh yeah, that too. But I think it's a good idea. But no, I don't think the taxpayer should have to bill either.
Not one dime. There's no reason for us to pay for any part of that. If you bought the team, you can afford to build the stadium. We don't have that same luxury. We have people living on the street that are homeless that we need to work on first. That's my priority. Get the people who are going to be lifelong residents of this area safe.
Well said.
Start a GoFundMe.
Moving on to the Cleveland Guardians. Currently in a series with the Kansas City Royals, rained out tonight, unfortunately, but a big 8-5 win last night thanks to Bobby Witt's throwing error. Appreciate that. But they've been on a roll. Currently 5 ahead of Kansas City, 7 ahead of Minnesota. They promoted 27-year-old Daniel Schneemann over the weekend. That's a guy I've been waiting to see, and all he did in his first at bat was smack a 2-run double.
Not first at bat. First pitch he ever saw the major leagues.
Yeah, first major league.
That's right.
Turned on that inside fastball and ripped it down the right field line.
To be fair, every pitch after that has been downhill for him, but that one first pitch was fantastic.
He was supposed to play center field tonight, so that would have been interesting.
He might still play center field tomorrow.
Yeah. The bullpen just continues to be amazing. Emmanuel Clase is just absolutely dominant right now. 0.30 ERA. He's only 20 saves now away from Cody Allen's team record of 149. So
and
pretty good chance he breaks that this year.
0.0 ERA in the entire month of May with 10 saves. I can't remember a reliever ever doing that with double-digit saves in the same month. Like, this is stuff that I don't remember Mariano Rivera or Trevor Hoffman doing, and that they're considered the greats of the position. They are the top closers in the game in its history. And you're talking about not just rarefied air. We're talking about air that nobody else has ever experienced before with Emmanuel Clase.
And speaking of Bobby Witt, he struck him out to end the game on a 101-mile-per-hour cutter inside that was just absolutely filthy.
Mhm.
I don't know anybody can hit off that guy right now.
The Kansas City Royals would like me to remind you he is the franchise Bobby Witt Jr. Please continue.
Oh, he's a hell of a player. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's one of the greats, and he's going to go down as one of the greats. Kansas City got a absolute stud in Bobby Witt Jr. It's just disappointing that the rest of that team is going to suffer.
So looking at the shortstop position is one thing I wanted to talk about. A couple guys who have been in and out of there, Gabriel Arias, Brian Rocchio, are struggling to stay above the Mendoza line. I think Rocchio's defense and speed is kind of keeping him in there right now. But, Schneemann played shortstop. But you got a guy down at Columbus right now who's one of their higher tier prospects who's on a tear named Jose Tena. He got a little bit of run at the end of last season. He's hitting 286 with 8 home runs. So it may be time to give Tena a shot at playing short. And then the last thing is what do you do with Bo Naylor at this point?
Send him down.
Yeah, he's hitting 173, and he just looks lost up there. Now, I have high hopes with how we finished last year. I mean, this is a big sophomore slump. David Fry should maybe get more time at catcher. He's not a bad catcher, and we've seen what he's done offensively. So, what do you guys? What are your opinions, Paul? We'll start with you. You're the resident baseball guru. What are your thoughts?
I usurped James. Suck it. Sorry, I wasn't sure which direction he was going to go with that. So
Don't make me come over there. We start moving some furniture.
I already have a steel chair right to my right side at all times in case somebody breaks in my door.
Yeah, don't forget his wrestling background, James.
I got that figured out. So, with regards to Tena, no, it's not time, and there's a very annoying reason for that, and it's just simply you got to give these youngsters a little more time to prove either they can't do it or they can do it. All-Star break, yes. If we're at the point where we're at right now, still at the All-Star break, then yes, coming out of the All-Star break, go for it. Give us that second half push, that player that comes to the team and is not a trade, but is a trade, and it makes us feel good inside, and now we go forward without making a trade deadline move. The Cleveland Guardians special, as we like to call that. With regards to Bo Naylor, I love the Naylor brothers. I think it's great that we have a brother that are playing on the same team, but this isn't working out. And I warned you guys this was going to happen last year when everybody was calling for Bo Naylor to get called up, and I told you then he's not ready. And yes, he came in like a house on fire, and he was fantastic. But he's proving he's not ready. Send him down, get him some regular at-bats in AAA, get him comfortable and back to the headspace that he was in last year that made him a star for the second half of this team, and then you can bring him back up. But right now, you have an like this. It boggles my mind that David Fry is not an everyday player. This dude is a stud, and he came out of nowhere, and you're just letting him play everywhere? Put him behind the plate, let Austin Hedges work with him, and see if you can develop him. Because clearly, the upside with David Fry right now is greater than the upside for Bo Naylor. And that's not a knock on Bo. I want Bo to succeed. I just don't see it right now. And I didn't see it last year either. And I was right.
James, how about you?
Well, yeah, Paul, you started out pretty good and then you just nosedived. So, number one, Bo Naylor did not come up and just hit the ball over the field. If you remember, he struggled a little bit. And a lot of these guys, and Paul, you and I talked about, down at AAA, down to Huntington Park, it's more homer friendly. So it's guys can inflate their numbers and look and their offensive numbers because of the shorter outfield. But you got to let some of these young guys get up there and play, because do you want to send them down every time they struggle and start rattling people's confidence? Or do you want to give some of these guys, like you were saying at the beginning, let them play it out? You know, we're still only in June. We got plenty of time. Look at our lead in the division. Look how well we're playing. Sometimes you got to take clubhouse chemistry into play with how things are going. So that's why sometimes no change is the best thing that you can do. Let these guys play. It's you know, you can't offensively. Not everybody's going to come up and just hit the cover off the ball. We're very fortunate last year that Gavin Williams and Bybee and Logan came up out of AAA and helped balance a pitching staff out as rookies, which was way probably over their head to an extent to have the seasons they did, especially Tanner. I mean, I'm sure he expected that, but it's still a lot to ask out of rookies. But Rocchio was the guy that Mel last year, shout out to Mel on Guardians. She would talk about wanting Rocchio up there and Ahmed Rosario gone. And now you got Rocchio up there putting up some Rosario type numbers. But it doesn't feel the same, right? It feels like this is a young guy that just needs some more time, that has a higher ceiling. Not only him, but looking at Tyler Freeman. He's obviously got more home runs than Miles Straw, but his average suffers a little bit too. So to me, let these guys play. Let's get into All-Star break. Let some of these young guys breathe a little bit. They're not going to participate in the All-Star weekend. Bo Naylor, same thing. Let him breathe. Let him play. He's got Austin Hedges there. He's got Sandy Alomar as a coach. He's got Fry that they can plug in, like you're saying. I like that. But just I see what you're saying. You want to give them every day at bats, and that's the catch-22. Everybody wants to bring these guys up. They're on fire at AAA. Well, they got to have room to play too, right? So what do? You got to hand it to our front office, and then now you're a rookie manager of balancing what we're doing this year. And I'm just thankful for it. And that's why I hate to see us like just kind of start peeling away from guys like Bo and Rocchio and Freeman that are now getting some playing time. I think we got to stick with them because I think that's what the front office is going to do.
Clarence, how you feeling about the guards?
Honestly, start of the season, I would kind of, it's like the old major league. You're like, who the fuck are these guys? But
Twice now.
It seems like I didn't drop it.
These guys are shitty.
Yeah, my mom might be watching, so I didn't drop it. But
Hi, Clarence's mom.
The goat.
But the thing is that they're playing well. Like, and I have not dove all the way into the Guardians. I'm a guy. I wait until NBA is over, but at baseball as a whole, I will kind of follow along. But it seems like this team is playing decently, and I don't know. I almost feel like if they have guys in the minors that they can bring up that might spell some of the guys that are there, give them a shot. And it's kind of one of those things where, like James said, you do have to have somewhere to put them at, and obviously you do want to be able to give these guys enough at bats to get comfortable. But I almost feel like they're playing with house money. Like nobody expected them to be this good right now.
Yep.
So, you know what? If you got a couple guys down in Columbus, bring them up. Let's see what happens. Go from there.
Keep balling.
Here's my question to you guys. Trade deadline comes up. Do you really want to make a move, or do you just kind of want to stand pat and see how far this team can go? Because this team right now is capable of making the postseason and making a run. And you have to be able to beat the Yankees and the Dodgers. And there's not too many teams that can do that. I would rather hold on to some assets for next year, let the Yankees back up the truck to Juan Soto and bankrupt themselves accidentally, and see what we can do in 2025 with this team. Because 2024, I don't think we're winning the World Series. I didn't think that at the beginning of the season. And while they're showing promise, I still don't think they're the number one team in baseball. I want to see this team just kind of calmly stay together, because I know there's been a lot of talk about Chase DeLauter being a trade chip. And I don't know that I want to do that yet.
You never know what's going to happen. You don't know what next year is going to bring. You're in a position like this. You make the moves. You make the big moves now. And supposedly from all all that's been heard is Dolan has given the green light to add payroll at the deadline. So I think they go for it this year.
I don't. It's just when you mean go for it. Like, are you talking? What big name are you thinking?
Yeah, that's
You
because
thinking as a starting
I
pitcher?
don't want Bo Bichette.
Starting pitcher and a bat if possible. Luzardo from the Marlins is a
Yeah.
prime candidate, and he's a young guy. I think he's 26 years old. He's a guy you can add to the core.
Yeah, and he's going to be expensive. And I'm not talking contract. I'm talking
Oh yeah,
what we're
there's
going to
no
have to
doubt.
give up for sure. So
Oh, that would put us
It's-
in the big trade of the deadline. We would be the feature on MLB Network where they're like, the Guardians trade the farm for one pitcher.
yeah, but you also have to think about too. Right now, we've been doing all this without Gavin Williams. Adding Gavin Williams, if he can be healthy, is like making a trade. We're already 20 games over 500, and then
There's
to
the
add a
Guardians
Gavin
attitude.
Williams. So you never know.
Well, that's the difference, Kevin, between a small market club and a big market club. We think like small market because we're used to this stuff. We know what we're getting here. We know what to expect from the front office because we've seen it for 25 plus years.
That's because we
Somebody's
go
life
shopping at
alert went
Aldi.
off.
That was mine.
Good God, are you okay, sir?
I don't know. You'll find out next week.
Get up.
Tune in next week. If I'm here, I'm good.
Have you been in a car accident, sir? Did you have a rough fall that we're not aware of?
No.
Shout out to Jamie Renner for the Kev the Goat comment. Appreciate that, brother.
Suck up.
Now, I was going to say, as far as what we do at the trade deadline, we shop at Aldi, and while everybody else is shopping at Heinen's.
Yeah.
Hey, Aldi has some delicious carrots. That's all I'm going to say.
No, I like Aldi. Don't get me wrong, but
Oh, you want to
You'd
shop
like-
name brand? That's fine. Name brand kind of sucks sometimes. I can get the same meal at Aldi for half the price.
well,
Why
I'll
would
tell
they
you
do
what,
that?
Aldi's had a better quarterback program than the Browns did from '99. Put your cart back and get your quarterback.
Boo.
We need a sound.
Come on, Deshaun, you can do it this year. Come on, Deshaun.
Good God.
All right, a couple other notes before we wrap it up. Speaking of the GOAT, the great Jim Donovan announced he's retiring from WKYC, but will stay on in the booth to cover Browns games. Your guys' thoughts on Donovan. Go ahead, Paul. We'll start with you.
There is no doubt in my mind that when we talk to people from this area in 30 years about who was their influence to get into sports journalism, it's going to be Jim Donovan. This man has been an institution in Cleveland and in Cleveland sports specifically. I can't even put into words how important his influence has been on this city and what he's done for the Cleveland Browns organization. Because let's be honest here, there have been some really, really bad games that Jim Donovan has kind of coaxed us through to make them somewhat palatable, even though we're down like 21-0 in the first quarter. And I don't think there's anybody else that could have done that. And I'm glad to see that he is leaving on his own accord. I'm glad that he's healthy after dealing with cancer twice, I believe now. Anything that makes Jim Donovan's life easier and better, I am absolutely going to support, and he is by far the GOAT when it comes to Cleveland sports media.
Clarence, your thoughts on Jimmy D?
I mean, he's the voice of the Browns. Period. It's. I don't know how many times that I've turned off whatever the broadcast is because I'm like, oh, this guy sucks, and timed up the TV with the radio and just had Jim and back then Doug Deacon, and just let them take me through kind of like Paul said, some really shitty games. There's just no getting around it. But I'd rather listen to them than the announcer, whoever they have, just tear the Browns apart. One thing I will say is he's part of like the old guard. I feel like there are a lot of young aspiring sportscasters and sports media people within the Cleveland area who some of them are good. There are some that I think absolutely suck. I will not name their names here. I'm not that guy, but there are some people that I think absolutely blow ass, and people take their word as gospel. I take Jim Donovan's words as gospel. I'm happy he is staying on to be with the Browns, and I'm happy that he's going to retire on his own terms, and hopefully just keeps kicking cancer's ass. Shout out, Jimmy.
I'm pretty sure one of those guys' names rhymes with phony. That's as far as we'll go.
I don't even mind him that much.
I see the whole list here in the private chat we got here. My God, that's a long list you got there, bud.
I don't even mind him that much. There's just a lot of the new guard that comes up, and a lot of the drama that I see starts from our super Twitter accounts, and they just drum up shit, and I'm like, come on, man, like. I just want to watch football. I don't need your take because your take is not any better than mine. We're watching the same game. And I'll leave it at that.
James?
I think back to Casey Coleman when he was at 8. I think of Nev Chandler when he was at 5. And then, Jim Donovan. And I think the best compliment I can say is that no matter what, he could, there's the alarm again. Sorry about that, guys. But he's the one that has been able to tell great stories with bad football. Basically like what you were saying, Clarence. He saw so many games that are so bad, but he's been able to be so authentic where he can tell you the story, but he can also just perfectly fit his feelings and his own thoughts right into it, where it's like it's a perfect balance. And just his voice, his stability, for as much turnover as WKYC has had at Channel 3 from all the different anchors, he's been the guy. He's the guy that you can count on. And that's even all the change through Cleveland television. A lot of recent retirements or people moving on. I've heard that Cleveland television is a mess, so to speak, with all this turnover. And Jim Donovan was the guy that you could always count on. I would always put on his sportscast, even though I record on YouTube TV, 5, 8, 19, and 3. My go-to was Channel 3 because of Jim Donovan. And, I'll miss him on the newscast. Thankfully, he can still do Browns games. And I cannot think of a better send-off for him, because I can't imagine that he's even going to want to call Browns games for a long time. I just would love to see him ride off into the sunset and call a Super Bowl victory. I just can't think of a better way to honor all the work that he's did for Cleveland television and Browns radio.
Yeah, when I think of the top 3 Cleveland broadcasters of my era, I think Joe Tate, Tom Hamilton, and Jim Donovan.
We're kind of spoiled in Cleveland, by the way. I really hope people understand and appreciate how spoiled we have been with some of the greats, because you can go to Tampa Bay, and they got nobodies down there. You go to Boston, they've had turnover at the commentary level for a couple of different teams. Boston Red Sox specifically is what I'm thinking of. Don Orsillo ended up in San Diego, and I don't remember who took over for him, but he's not nearly as good. Milwaukee has had the stability of Bob Uecker for the Milwaukee Brewers for 70 years. I'm kidding. Not the 70. It's like 49
Damn near.
and a half. I don't know. Pretty close. But this is a tough industry. And to have that kind of sustainability is really impressive. I always will go back to Jim Donovan's call in 2020 when the Browns made the postseason for the first time in God knows how long. And that iconic line of, "The only thing that's missing is you." It was such a beautiful, poignant reminder of what we were dealing with at the time, but an honest reflection on Cleveland sports in general. And I think that's the best way to not eulogize, because the man's not dead, but to send him out in a blaze of glory. I'd love for him to be able to call a Super Bowl, but how about just give him a home playoff game to call? Because God bless it, that would be electric. He'd get more high fives than the damn team would.
Yes, he would.
Agreed.
Very well
That's
said.
good job, Paul.
All right, before we wrap it up, our Cleveland Monsters are in the Eastern Conference Finals. Unfortunately, trailing Hershey 3-0 in the series. Game 4 tomorrow night at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. We're hoping for a Game 5 because if we get that, our own James Ellifritz will be down there covering. But what are we thinking? We're going to get a win tomorrow night so James can get out there on Saturday.
Nope.
Mr. Positivity.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, I love the Monsters, and I think they're a great team. But
At
for whatever
positive
reason,
Paul.
hey, whatever reason they're having, they're not being able to get past Hershey, and I think it's going to be a 4-game sweep, which is disappointing. I think a lot of it plays into the fact that the AHL schedule for the playoffs is 3 games, 5-game schedule up until now, and then you start a 7-game. Kind of like what Major League Baseball does with the ALDS versus the ALCS, and so on and so forth. I'm not a fan of that. I would rather, and we could be here all night if we talk about the AHL playoffs, because I think the fact that 90% of the damn league gets in now is very annoying. What's the point of playing if everybody's going to qualify for the postseason at that point? I think there's like 70% of each division is in. It's annoying. But you water down everything and you create this annoying situation where you get a 5 series and then a 5 series, and then you get to the actual opponents that are actually going to create you problems, and then you get obliterated in a 7-game series because you didn't have enough to handle a 7-game series. And I think that's ultimately what the Monsters' problem has been. And it's frustrating because we don't know what the Monsters are going to look like next year because of the turnover at the NHL level. GM Don Waddle taking over as president of the hockey operations general manager, and what was the other title? He's got like 3 bullshit titles. I say that with love as a hockey fan, but
I'll take one of those if it pays right.
They're all the same. He's got a shitload of power. There you go. That's what your title should be if you're in that position. I have a shitload of power. That's it. And we don't even know if Trent Vogelhuber, the head coach of the Monsters, is even going to come back. His name's actually been tied to college teams because he doesn't know if he has stability. And that's very disappointing because I think Vogelhuber has been one of the better coaches the Monsters have had in the last 15 or so years. The only one that I could argue against that maybe, I liked Madden when he was here. I thought he was a good coach. A lot of people hated him. It is what it is. I just want to see the Monsters rally back here because this team could be completely different next year.
Well, James, for your sake, I hope they pull it off tomorrow night and get you out there on Saturday and get another win.
Yeah, absolutely. The Monsters, they do a great job with their entertainment team, and I know the Cavs do too, but it's a great, inexpensive way to get out and celebrate pro sports. There's a lot of puckheads out there that really enjoy going to the games. It's a fun atmosphere. So if you've never been to a Monsters hockey game, you got to get down there. That's why I'm looking forward to get down there. Hopefully they get that win, cover it, bring more attention to the team and to the fans and the sport in Cleveland. Because we're not a really big hockey town, but there's a lot of loyalists that show up game in and game out there.
Actually, we are a hockey town. Like our history of
NHL
hockey goes. No, we're not NHL. But hockey in Cleveland is an institution that has gone back generations and generations, going back to the original Cleveland Barons. You've seen the banners hanging in the rafters. A lot of people put a lot of value and a lot of stock in those banners. It's like me with
then
the
why didn't they stay? Clarence,
Money.
you never drove down Lakewood and seen anybody playing on the frozen Lake Erie, right? Have you seen any pickup games?
Hockey, that's a Northern Ohio thing. I grew up in the Dayton area. It was not around down there. It was not around. That's a Northern Ohio type thing. Yeah, no. Do the hockey. That's all I can say. Do the hockey. All right.
I think next year they have the. No, I think next year there's the. I think the Blue Jackets are hosting a game at the Horseshoe.
They're trying to
one of
break
the
the record
Winter
for
Classics.
Yeah, they're trying to break the record for the largest attended outdoor hockey game in history.
Hell yeah, that'd be great.
First hockey game outdoors in the history of the Columbus Blue Jackets, which has been going for about 25 years now. and literally every other team in the league has had at least 2, and the Blue Jackets hadn't had any up until this point. So it almost felt like we were being singled out from not getting the opportunity, even when the Blue Jackets were actually good and making the playoffs consistently. But circling back, keep in mind, the Monsters tickets are like $10 to get into a playoff game.
Yeah.
There is no other place on planet Earth where you're going to get the chance to go to a game 4 of a playoff anywhere for $10. So please, go see the Monsters. Go enjoy the game. And hell, just be as loud as you can, because we got to fear the depths.
Yes, we do. All right, so I want to give a quick shout out to Lucas Cochran and Derek Dimmitt. This weekend, they'll be out at the Canal Park in Akron covering the OHSAA. I knew I was going to screw that up. High school baseball state semifinals. Shout out to the Padua Bruins, the Twinsburg Tigers, and the West Branch Warriors, who are 3 of the teams from Northeast Ohio representing. And we'll have all 3 games covered Friday, and then hopefully 2 games Sunday if 2 or all 3 of them make it. So looking forward to that. And if you haven't already, you can see at the bottom on the scroll our X account at Land Sports Show. We're doing a giveaway. Once we hit 2,300 followers, we're giving away a Cleveland sports package of signed memorabilia, including a Tristan McKenzie autograph card,
Oh, look at that.
an Isaac Accordo autographed 8x11.
Nice. What's the
Glad he
Browns
didn't-
thing?
Glad he
And,
didn't drop the pen halfway
Bernie
through the
Kosar.
autograph.
Bernie Kosar signed mini helmet.
Oh man, used all 7 of my burners.
Bernie!
down there on this one.
So get on that account, like it, share it, and once we hit 2,300, I think we're at 1987. So we're getting close, just over 300 away. We'll give that away to a random person who followed and retweeted. So make sure you get on that. But great first show, guys.
Hey,
Enjoyed it.
thanks for leading it, Godfather, and Derek behind the scenes. Thanks for being our producer. And what do we got? We got live viewers right now. We got 88 right now, so that's great. Thanks for tuning in. But like Kevin said, keep following us on social media. We want your feedback. We want to hear what topics you want to hear. We may throw some questions out there during the week to find out some polls, what you guys want to talk about. But yeah, there's going to be plenty to talk about this summer as the Guards continue their winning ways going into Browns training camp. I hope the Browns don't steal too much thunder because the Guards deserve the attention.
Yeah, we had to move this first episode around a little bit. We're going to be on Mondays going forward at 8 p.m. So look for that. Make sure you bookmark that time and date each week for us. And we're kind of going to keep it fresh. We're going to rotate some people in and out. It won't be the same exact people on each week. You might see a couple of the same, but we'll be rotating people in and out. Keep it fresh, and depending on the subject matter for that week, and we may have some high school reporters on if there's big high school stuff going on, or there's a lot we can talk about, and this helps keep it fresh during the off season. During Browns off season, Guardians off season, Cavs off season, not a lot to talk about. So you put one big show together, it gives you a lot of content. And make sure you guys are tuning in on the chat. Get involved with us, interact. We look forward to that. I appreciate the GOAT comment once again. That was the only one tonight, but hey, I'll take it.
Somebody was trying to get a job is all that was.
I used to work with him, so it's all good.
Even worse, he's trying to get employed by a person who you used to work with. Yeah, that sounds like nepotism right there. What the hell are we doing here?
All right, guys. I appreciate
I'm going to
it.
put my hand underneath that logo so you can see it right there.
Thank you guys for hopping on with the first episode. It's been fun, and we will talk to you next Monday at 8.